Hi. First of all, I want to apologize for the shit video quality. This should be technically still HD because this is an HD webcam. I don't know for the life of me what I did with my vlogging camera. It's around here somewhere. I've done some rearranging here in the past couple months, and I don't know where it's gotten to. Like, it's not in my camera case, it's not in my book bag. I don't know where it's at. And of course, as I'm sure you can hear in the background, my neighbor's dog is going nuts like it always does this time of night. Um, but I've been wanting to come back and do some vlogging, and I've been feeling more up to it here recently. And I didn't want to, something like not being able to find my video camera to stop me when I was feeling in the mood to do it. So I've had this idea called to be or not to be, and of course that's a reference to Tubi, the streaming service. One of my favorite streaming services, which is completely free. So if you have, even if you have a phone or just your laptop, you can download it and you can watch movies and TV shows for free. And their library is quite extensive. It's actually quite impressive. I got exposed to the app a couple of years ago, and uh, back then it was mostly just B movies and straight to DVD or VHS stuff from back in the day. But they've added more stuff. Like there's Blade Runner 2049 and the original Blade Runner are both on there to watch for free. Of course, the caveat is that there are commercials throughout the either the movie or the TV series that you watch. But that's not a big deal for somebody like me because I grew up with satellite and cable television where there would be commercials and I would either just go make myself something to eat, go to the restroom, or find something else to do, or just simply wait. So being patient for something that is not costing me anything really isn't that big of a deal to me. So with to be or not to be, I want to focus mostly on B movies or movies that would typically be so bad it's good type of deal. I might touch on some cult classics from time to time, but I, I my channel has mostly been geared towards horror films, and I wanted to branch out a little bit. We're still going to do a lot of horror films. It's not going to be just strictly from Tubi, and who knows, I might not even keep doing this segment. But I was really big into martial arts films growing up, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, um, those Jackie Chan. Those were some of my favorites growing up. I really loved martial arts films where it seems like they pushed the boundaries of what you could do with stunts and fight sequences. And I think that with modern films, they're still like great action films, but unless you're like somebody like Tom Cruise, or if you're making films out of Hong Kong, the stunts, they don't feel real. And I think with a low budget film from the 80s, 90s, or even the 70s, you can get it either one of two ways. The budget is so low that that basically all they could do was hire stuntmen. Like they couldn't hire real actors. The stuntmen and women basically played the parts, and the action was so freaking awesome that you didn't care as long as they didn't spend too much time on the story. As long as the action was good, you'd get some insane stuff. And then on the other hand, it would be so low budget they would hire some big name actors, but then they wouldn't have the budget to do realistic special effects like pyrotechnetics, or to have the time to do stunts, or have these big name actors that didn't have the stunt training, so it's like they didn't have the time to really put into it. But I'm shocked that I've gotten to this point in my life where I've never heard of Cynthia Rothrock until recently. And she is a martial artist, and she was quite big in Hong Kong. And if check out some of her fight sequences in some of her movies from the mid to early 80s. It's insane. Like it's Jackie Chan level good. Like it's crazy the sort of stunts that she does, and some of the people that worked on her films did. It's crazy. And of course, some of her films are on Tubi, so I added a ton of them to my list. So I started with Sworn to Justice. Sworn to Justice is about this psychic whose sister and nephew gets killed in the film, and this happens within the first 30 to 60 seconds in the film. It's not like Taken or John Wick where we spend 20 to 30 minutes with these characters and then they die. They die almost immediately. So at first I'm like, okay, great, we're gonna get into the action real quick because I've not seen Cynthia Rothrock in to a big extent. Like I've seen like clips of her films. So this is the first one I've watched all the way through. So I was like, okay, great, we're gonna get right to the action because while she's extremely talented martial artist, she's not the best actress. Like she's not. She is. She has presence, but she just doesn't pull off the dramatic scenes. And unfortunately, with Sworn to Justice, I think that this film came earlier in her career because it came out in the later in her career because it came out in the mid-90s. And I'm just speculating here. I think what probably happened was she was like, well, I've done a ton of action movies now. I want to try something a little more meaty and to try something more dramatic because this feels more like a drama than an action film because it sets itself up as a revenge thriller, but then it goes into all these sort of subplots, and the thing that you think is going to be the main thing ends up taking a back burner because she ends up like learning how to move on, dealing with the cops that aren't looking into her sister's killer, and falling in love. Just stuff that wasn't that I didn't really sign up for with this movie. And there are action scenes that you would expect from somebody of her caliber, and they're the far and few that there are good. Like they're entertaining, especially like during the last 20 minutes is when the film really picks up and what I wanted the entire movie to be like. There's a fight in a car garage, which is great, and then there's a fight in a bar that is really entertaining and over the top. And that's another thing about this movie too, is that it feels like it's trying to be super serious, and then it'll have like silly martial arts stuff, like her and her main love interest have what I like to call a karate flirt scene where they fight with each other in his apartment, and it's not like a real fight, but they're like flirting back and forth and being like kind of cutesy, and it doesn't fit with the rest. And these sequences that happen sporadically throughout the film and have almost cartoonish music on top of it don't feel like they match with the tone they're going for. And unfortunately, the tone they're going for isn't that great either because the acting isn't great. There's a cameo by Walter Koenig, who I swore in this film was dubbed. Like, I don't think that's his voice. And if it is his voice, the accent that he went for is absolutely terrible. It's definitely the worst performance I've ever seen from him. Which, I mean, I was surprised. I was excited to see him at first because I loved him in Star Trek and Babylon 5. But as he started delivering his lines, I was like, dude, what are you doing? This fake Russian accent is not working for you. And then another actor that I really like shows up later. In fact, he's one of the people that was involved in Cynthia Rothrock's sister's killing. And it's Brad Dourif, and he's actually pretty good. Like he's in the movie for only a couple minutes, and it turns out that he was somebody that was in on the murder that actually didn't want to go through with it. He actually like left, and she sees this in her vision, and she ends up like being like, "Well, I'm mad at you, but I'm not going to go as far to murder you like the rest of them because at least you had the decency to say no, I don't want to do this." He's pretty good in the film. He's pretty creepy, even though his character is technically quote unquote innocent. But I'm actually sort of doing rating systems for these movies. I'm going to say whether it's Tubi or not Tubi. I think for me, this movie is not Tubi. Like I could not recommend watching this if you're a martial arts film fan or a fan of straight to DVD, hilariously bad movies, because for me, it wasn't entertaining enough. The entertaining parts were far and few between, and it was a slog to get through the rest of the stuff. I think that I could really only recommend this to people who are hardcore fans of Miss Rothrock. And if you haven't seen this film and you've seen a bunch of her other stuff, maybe check it out, or go on YouTube and check out some of the fight scenes and stuff in the car garage and the bar is a lot of fun and really cool. And she is good in the fight scenes. She performs really, really well, but it's still not on pars from what I've seen from her best of compilations that I've seen on YouTube that I would highly recommend checking out. So I think for me, Sworn to Justice is not a film that I could recommend watching on Tubi, even though it is free. That being said, I would highly recommend checking out the app if you haven't. This isn't sponsored by Tubi. I would love to be sponsored by Tubi. But I'm looking forward to diving into more of their stuff because I've added a ton of B movies to my library, and I'm excited to start watching those and talking about them because those movies are fun to talk about. So what's your favorite B movie? What's your favorite so bad it's good movie? Comment below, let me know. And if you like stuff that isn't bad or so bad that it's good, I've written some urban fantasy and paranormal suspense books. You can check out the links to those below. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully I will be seeing you here soon. Bye.